Chris Scalzo here with
Not how old.
And on this episode of the first run, Matt and I are got a lot to get through, so we're gonna try and we can blow through this and keep this under an hour. But I don't think
double sized episode right here.
It's supersized, as we like to say. So we're going to talk about Deadpool, right? Which all the kids seem to be excited about. So yeah, Deadpool, an R-rated superhero film. Is anybody really going to go for that? It appears so. I'll talk briefly about Hail Caesar, the latest film from the Coen Brothers. We're going to tell you about Willow as we continue our back in time reviewing of all the old films that we loved as a kid. Now, this was the one that I had never actually seen completely. So I can't wait to tell you what I thought about Willow. And then we're going to do our Oscar picks because they're coming up this Sunday. And then also, finally, to go along with Deadpool, because if Deadpool's anything, it's a romance. So we're going to tell you what our 5 favorite movie romance couples are. So a lot to get through. And let's start off. Let's hear a little bit from Deadpool.
I love you, Wade Wilson. We can fight this.
You're right. The cancer's only my liver, lungs, prostate, and brain. All things I can live without.
What if I told you we can make you better? You're a fighter. We can give you abilities most men only dream of. Make you a superhero.
You just promise you'll do right by me, so I can do right by someone else.
And please don't make the super suit green or animated.
One thing that never survives this place is a sense of humor.
We'll see about that, Posh Spice. Oh, come on. You gonna leave me all alone here with less angry Rosie O'Donnell?
Wait! You may be wondering why the red suit. Well, that's so bad guys can't see me bleed. This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants.
Cue the music.
Matt, so why don't you give us, if you wouldn't mind, maybe a brief history of Deadpool as a character, and then launch into the film and tell us what it's about.
All right. So Deadpool was started off by the justly vilified, it's created by the justly vilified Rob Liefeld, who back in the 90s kind of epitomized the cliched things in comic books, big guns, anatomically incorrect huge muscles and giant boobs and impossibly small waists and all this kind of stuff. And an
absolute fear of drawing feet.
Yes,
the opportunity.
Now, if you ever go back, and just as an aside, if you ever go back and look at some Liefeld art, and now that Chris has said that, you will notice that he does everything in his power to hide people's feet, because they're literally just like these little hourglasses that he puts on the end there. Yeah, they're pretty bad. But yeah, for whatever reason, he was he was a very popular artist inexplicably in the 90s, which just kind of shows you what the comic book scene was like. And he created this kind of Deathstroke the Assassin meets Spider-Man rip-off character, had like the kind of badassery of Deathstroke, but was kind of a quip machine, made a lot of jokes while he was fighting. And he was a bad guy for X-Force, and it kind of just morphed and took on his life of its own as, other creators got involved and other writers, and they kind of took it to kind of a place where, it's kind of very self-referential, and it's got a big fan base for that.
Yeah, he's a bit of an anti-hero at this point, right? He crossed over. And one of his big things is that he breaks the fourth wall and actually acknowledges the fact that he's a comic book character. From what I've never actually read a single comic book involving Deadpool. I was just aware of him just through friends and just media and stuff in general. So
sure. Yeah, I hadn't read any of his new stuff either. But I mean, unfortunately, I was 13 in 1993. So obviously, I had a few X-Force issues in the old collection in the old long box there, so I was familiar with Rob Liefeld on Deadpool.
Yes. So so basically the film itself, right? Yeah. So it took him 10 years to get this thing made. So Deadpool makes an appearance, if you can even call it that, in the god-awful first X-Men solo movie, Wolverine, which if you haven't seen, don't watch it. I'm telling you right now, it is atrocious. But he's got a scene in that, and of course they totally misused the character, right? He's silent throughout the whole thing, and his mouth is sewed shut. And I'm assuming they're saying now, it's like, because it's clever because he always talked and never shut up, so that's why they did that. But it's just, I don't know, whatever. It was dumb. But anyway, Ryan Reynolds basically pushed to have this film made for 10 years. And they finally agreed. They gave him a meager budget of about, what, $50 million, right? $58 million. Mm-hmm. And they said, all right, we'll see what happens. And they made the film. And, Matt, this thing has been a colossal hit. The greatest opening weekend for an R-rated movie, period, at this point.
Yeah. It blew 50 Shades of Grey out of the water.
So it's a ginormous hit, and so for this one, Wade Wilson, who's Deadpool's real name, he's dying of cancer. He gets recruited into this program, which is not really the Weapon X program, I guess. Maybe it's a dirty offshoot of it, black market version of it. I don't know, because that's more of his origin in the comics. And he gains these superpowers. Now, he's not a mutant, right? Because mutants have to be born with their abilities. Though he supposedly has a mutant gene in him, right? I guess is what they hint in the movie.
It's like dormant or latent.
So, and it gives him this ability to heal from anything, kind of like Wolverine, but like a supersized version of Wolverine's healing factor. Mm-hmm. And he ends up this operation, whatever you want to call it, ends up costing him his relationship with his girlfriend because it turns him into this really ugly monster-looking thing. He's got all these welts and burns, or looks like, or whatever the case may be. And he basically tries to get revenge on the people who turned him back into a normal-looking, gorgeous Ryan Reynolds. And that way he can be back together with the lovely Marina Baccarin, who plays his girlfriend in the film. And, that's basically it, right? And he just tears a violent swath through all the bad guys in his attempt to become normal-looking again. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you, Matt, how'd you feel about this? I know, it's big build-up, right? And it's a big hit, but did it deliver what you were looking for? Is it now are we going to see a new run of R-rated superhero films? And here's my big question for you. I'm throwing a lot at you, so bear with me. You may want to take notes. Mm. What lesson is Hollywood going to learn out of this? Because there was a director, and now it's escaping me now. Was it Zack Snyder? No, it wasn't.
No, it was James Gunn, the guy who did
James Gunn, thank you. His whole thing was how Hollywood's totally going to misread this and go down the wrong path with R-rated superhero films. I don't know. So let's take them in order. So first off, was it a success? Did you enjoy it? Was it everything you'd hoped? And then what do you think the future of this is going to be?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I wasn't blown away by it. I wouldn't put it even, I wouldn't say that if you look at all the top superhero movies that we've had, I wouldn't say this is necessarily kind of scratches the surface of any of those, but I mean, it's definitely really good. I mean, it was enjoyable. It's a good action movie. I appreciate that they were able to do less with more. A lot of the action, they did these things to kind of cut costs, and it actually really works really well in the film. Although I guess the only things that I would complain about it is that, one, there's a lot of jokes in it, and probably I would say only maybe half of them really hit. Like, some of them were kind of like, okay, that was kind of funny, but I don't know. The jokes were probably a little too fast and furious in a lot of cases, and they were kind of corny a lot of times. And then I guess it's just weird. It doesn't really, even for the whole story, it doesn't really seem like really much of anything happened. It just seems like, it starts here, and then we hear the backstory, and then it's the finale. It was a very quick, lean movie, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it just seemed like it didn't go anywhere.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I actually thought the jokes landed a lot more than they didn't. I thought it was actually really funny. I laughed out loud quite often. So that's interesting that you didn't get the same kind of humor, or you didn't enjoy the humor as much of it as I did.
Yeah, I guess you have to enjoy Ryan Reynolds' humor, because that's really what this is. This is Dan Wilder. Yeah,
I think he's one of the most charming guys on the planet. I mean, I think this is a role he was born to play, basically, that this is what he should be doing. I think he would have made a good Green Lantern if the film didn't betray him and be an absolute mess. But still, I think Deadpool is, for him, it's a fun performance, and what he's basically was born to play. I was smiling throughout this whole thing. I really was, Matt. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's very vulgar at times. So, when you go into it, keep that in mind. It's not a superhero movie for kids. It's rated R for a reason. It's very violent at times and exceptionally vulgar throughout. Lots of inappropriate jokes. So keep that in mind. He did break the fourth wall a couple times, which is great. I loved the Professor X joke. I'm sure you caught that, which I thought was great.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite X-Men joke was, it's almost like we couldn't afford anymore, and the producers couldn't afford any more X-Men, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. So there's lots of great stuff like that in here. What's one thing though, it's hampered a little bit because it is still an origin film, right? Mm-hmm. The origin films always have to build everything up. I think they do a good job of dealing with it, where we're not presented the first half hour of the film is his origin. We more go through flashbacks and kind of are given the information as the film progresses, which I think is a smarter way to handle that. And I thought the chemistry between him and Marina Baccarin from Firefly, I guess it was for the geek community, is what she's most famous for. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed the relationship. I thought Ed Skrein was our bad guy, and he was the guy who tried to relaunch the Transporter franchise, which I have not seen and I will not, because Jason Statham is the Transporter, and I will hear nothing else. But still, I enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious and action packed, and one of my notes was potty mouthed but perfect. I really felt that it delivered exactly what it set out to do. Maybe limitations because the origin story thing, fine, but still, I wasn't expecting some big Avengers, Age of Ultron, Guardians of the Galaxy epic quest. I liked the smaller scale of it, so I really didn't have a problem with that at all. One thing that's weird, though, for me, as it's been a few days, I don't know if I need to see a sequel.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't have this overwhelming desire, like, man, I can't wait to see what happens next. Though they do a good job of teasing it, I think, at the end, a little Ferris Bueller style. But it's weird. I didn't have this urge, man, I can't wait to see the next one. I kind of felt like maybe this was a nice, perfect encapsulated film. Now, will I go see one? Sure. And I'm sure, will I enjoy it? Probably. But I don't know what it was. I just felt like I had a great time, and I was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works good. I think I agree with you. I mean, I would definitely go see a second one, but you're right. I'm not like, oh, man, I can't wait for them to bring out Cable and see what they do with that in Deadpool. But what I do think is interesting, I think what I do like about it is it seems to have established kind of like this, for lack of a better term, more adult or R-rated kind of like offshoot that they can do. So they could do like X-Force, which is kind of like the X-Men hit squad kind of thing. Roll him into that kind of ensemble and kind of just roll with it from there, because you've kind of already set all the ground rules, you established it and kind of things. And I think that's something they could do with it, that it could work pretty well.
I think what's another interesting thing, too, considering the disasters of the Fantastic Four film, right? And their inability to get the Punisher franchise going, though I guess we'll see what happens now that that they are going to do a Netflix show off of the Punisher character from the Daredevil season 2.
Yeah.
But I think the success of this film, I'm wondering if Marvel will allow them and Fox will allow Deadpool to bring in more characters now, not just Cable, but more other X-Men because of how successful the film was, right? You want to ride the prize horse. And this has been the most successful film I think they've had, really, right? I mean, I think, I don't know if you adjust for inflation it would be, but better than X-Men 3. I don't know if it did better than the other, the most recent X-Men films.
I think at best, I think it's definitely the most profitable, because obviously it only cost them, less than $60 million to make, and it made, the last time I checked, like $250 million so far worldwide. So, I think that's probably around what Days of Future Past made, but I think that film cost them like $120, $150 million to make. So. Yeah.
So X-Men First Class had a lifetime gross domestically of $146 million.
What about Days of Future Past?
Yeah, let's take a look. So. Let's see here. And I'm curious because I don't have a lot of hope for Apocalypse. I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be a relatively big hit, but all right. So X-Men: Days of Future Past came in, according to Box Office Mojo, and again domestically, $234 million.
Okay.
So I think Deadpool's got a way to go before he hits that, right? So let's see. Right now, domestic is 180.
Okay.
So let's see. Yeah, and Days of Future Past globally was 747, so almost 748 actually. So and Deadpool sitting at 333.
Yeah.
So we'll see. So no, but I don't know. I don't know. Which film did I enjoy more? X-Men: Days of Future Past or Deadpool? I probably would go Future Past on that.
Yeah.
Which one I enjoyed more, just because of Fassbender maybe and you do a Hugh Jackman. Hey, the man's a presence. You like seeing him on the screen.
Then it was nice that they kind of just acknowledged that their previous X-Men films were just a waste, and they just kind of reboot them and let's just start over.
Right.
Whether that turns out to be a good thing, we'll see. But
still, I think it was a big success. I'm glad. I really enjoyed it. My recommendations. Well, let me ask you. We kind of jumped off. I jumped over it.
Yeah.
Do you think Hollywood's going to learn the wrong lesson on this? Is gun right? Are they going to just start now churning out super violent rated R horror films that totally miss the point?
Yeah, I would not doubt that at all. I mean, even James Gunn, he even threw some shade at Suicide Squad. Talking they put the funny trailer together with the classic pop song to kind of pull everything together, saying obviously they ripped off Guardians of the Galaxy kind of thing. I think they're going to learn. They are definitely going to learn the wrong lessons. I think they're gonna do things that are raunchy, and they're gonna do things that are violent and a lot of cussing and naked and all that kind of stuff. And the problem is it's not going to be fun. I mean, his whole point is that it's going to be that the whole reason it was successful is because it was original.
Mm-hmm. We'll see. I think I'm inclined to agree with you. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, I would like for them to get the right lessons, but do it right. Right, how awesome would a rated R Batman Gotham by Gaslight film be?
Yeah,
I mean, how incredible would that be? I don't know. It'll never happen because they would never do that with a top tier character like Batman. But still, it's too bad. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm fairly confident. So, what did I tell you? Do you need to rush out to the theaters to see this? Can you wait? You know what? I think I would. I would take the time to go see this in the theater. I saw it in an IMAX presentation. Mercifully, it was not 3D converted. Mm-hmm. So I really enjoyed it. Nice, big, and loud, which I think is the way this film should be enjoyed. You got to check out too. We're not going to spoil them for you, but there are a ton of Easter eggs in this film, not just for X-Men, but what I love the fact that there's Easter eggs for the greater Marvel universe throughout this film that they cannot do. Right? They are not allowed to do a lot of the stuff that they just snuck in there referentially. So have fun watching it and picking those out, especially the big climactic scene at the end. That ship thing they're fighting on, think about what you think that might be.
Right.
So anyway, I would say, I'd say you need to go out and check this out in the theaters, definitely. So what about you, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. I would definitely go check this out in the theaters. It's a hell of a lot of fun. Like you said, I mean, it's got its flaws, but I mean, it's a good time. I think you're going to be hard pressed to at least not enjoy it. And besides, it's still in the February doldrums. I mean, what the hell else are you going to go watch right now? Although I was looking at what's coming out, and stuff's coming out pretty early. I mean, we've got some big stuff coming out in March, so it's already starting to pick up. But
this weekend's The Witch, which I'm really excited about.
It was on my list. Top most anticipated. And for God's sakes, parents, okay, don't bring your kids to this movie. I was sitting in the IMAX theater, and there was a 6-year-old sitting next to me, and his mom was sitting there, didn't care about the violence, didn't care about the bad words or whatever. But as soon as Deadpool walked into the strip club, then she started covering his eyes and stuff, saying that he shouldn't be watching this.
I'll never understand our Puritan values with that. We'll watch somebody's head get blown off, right? But the minute you see a pair of boobs, all of a sudden everybody goes crazy.
Exactly. Yep.
I'll never understand that. All right, whatever. So if you get a chance to see Deadpool, shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. But great. And I want to reference too, Matt. You say it doesn't fall under the canon of great superhero films, right? So what are give me what your top 3 superhero films would be then for reference?
In no particular order, I would say The Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. I would say Winter Soldier. And probably Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I would say those are probably the top 3.
Yeah, I think that's strong. I'd probably throw in a Superman in there, even though the ending of it I still can't stand.
Right.
But I think that's a good barometer for the kids at home to know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's transition over a little bit, and we're going to play a clip now from Hail Caesar.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned.
How long since your last confession, my son?
27 hours.
It's really too often. You're not that bad.
Here at Capitol Pictures, as you know, millions of people look to us for information and uplift and, yes, entertainment. And we're going to give it to them.
And action.
An army of technicians and actors and top-notch artistic people are working hard to bring to the screen our biggest release of the year. Hail Caesar is a prestige picture with one of the biggest stars in the world, Baird Whitlock.
A truth we could see if we had, but... If we had... Faith! Faith! Cut!
Mr. Mannix,
What's up?
the director can't find Baird Whitlock.
Somebody slipped it under my door.
We have your movie star. Gather $100,000 and await instructions. Who are we? The future. Hello, Bert.
Hello, Mr. Mannix.
Lawrence, Obi, thank you all for coming. The studio needs your help.
Baird Whitlock has been kidnapped.
This is bad. Bad for movie stars everywhere.
She sings the perfect harmony.
Let's spend 24 hours.
But we're looking for him.
We don't want it in the gossip columns.
This is going to cost the studio a lot of money.
And that's where you come in.
I need some cash.
You must have very strong forearms. Is it hard squeezing it like that?
It's part of the job, miss.
Matt, it pains me that you did not get an opportunity to see Hail Caesar.
It's my wife's fault. She didn't want to see it.
It's the latest film from the Coen Brothers, and I got to tell you, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was hilarious, and I got to tell you, for me, when the Coen Brothers, right, they do these big films, and they come back and do these smaller films, and they come back and do a larger kind of more epic and when I say small and medium, I mean kind of thematically, right, impact wise, and then they do kind of these smaller films, and Hail Caesar falls into that category. The Intolerable Cruelties, the Barton Finks, that kind of, not Fargo, not No Country for Old Men. So, but I'm a big Coen Brothers fan, so I was really excited to check this out. You got a great cast in this, Matt. You got Josh Brolin, George Clooney, Ray Fiennes, Jonah Hill, Scarlett Johansson, Frances McDormand, Tilda Swinton, and of course, first-run favorite Channing Tatum. And I don't say that. I say that without a hint of irony. If any longtime listeners to the show know of our affection for Channing Tatum, we have a whole segment called the Tatum Line, where we have to do that again. Maybe we come up with the top 5 actors who have crossed the Tatum line. So I'm gonna have to think about that someday. Either way, this time George Clooney plays, and I think marvelously plays, a buffoonish kind of actor who gets kidnapped by a bunch of communists, some blackballed writers, and they want to basically ransom him off for a bunch of money that they're going to just now, I guess, donate to the cause, to the dirty red commies. And Josh Brolin plays the studio exec who is determined to find and rescue George Clooney's character, also mulling an offer to run Lockheed Martin, a division of Lockheed Martin, at the height of the Cold War. This film's set in the 50s. And Brolin is magnificent in this film. Clooney is fantastic. Everybody's strong in it. And it's just a lot of fun, Matt. It's a great tribute to old school Hollywood. And I got to tell you, I was excited but slightly nervous, because when the Coen Brothers do these smaller February release films, a lot of times, like Intolerable Cruelty, I'm underwhelmed. Right? I don't enjoy them as much. But I got to tell you, this one, I really, really liked it. And there's a great article, if you get a chance, you should read it, how the Coen Brothers just basically make the same 2 movies, right? They make one version of it, a more dramatic, serious film, and then they do a comedy version of the same themes. And this is the comedy version of Inside Llewyn Davis, basically. And they go through this whole thing comparing the two films back to back and how they do this. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and it made a lot of sense to me. And this actually has inspired me to watch Inside Llewyn Davis again, too, because I really like that film. So still, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a great tribute, as I said, to Hollywood. Clooney's great. I don't have that much to say about it because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Not that there's a lot of spoilers, but I just really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. I don't know how many times I can keep saying the same thing, but if you, it's that quirky Coen Brothers thing, and if you're into that and you like their lighter stuff, I think you're really going to enjoy this. I don't know, Matt. That's really all I have to say about it. I don't, because there's some stuff I don't want to spoil because it's just the reveals and stuff as the film progresses are just a lot of fun.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, it's the tough thing with comedies. You don't want to spoil it for anybody because then you ruin the jokes.
Yeah. And if you're a fan of old school Hollywood, man, there is a ton of stuff in here. They have the aquatic pictures. You have the troubled stars. You have the when they trying to cover the fact that one of the movie stars is gay, so they match them up. It's just all this old Hollywood kind of scandals, if you will, get touched on, and it's just great. I really enjoyed it. So if you've had a chance to hail Ceasar, of course, as always, shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com, or just call Matt directly at 4. Okay. Blu-ray DVD Picks. Matt, one of the contenders for Best Picture coming up. Spotlight is being released. It includes a Blu-ray DVD digital copy and ultraviolet pass. A couple behind-the-scenes featurettes, making of, that kind of stuff. So if you're into that, you can check that out. I enjoyed Spotlight. It wasn't as revelatory for me as it was for some people, but still one of the best films of 2015. Do you have a chance to catch up with Spotlight at all, Matt?
No, I have not seen it yet.
Well, here's your big chance. A film you did get to see, Pixar's The Good Dinosaur is being released. There's a 3D version as well as a regular Blu-ray. If you get it from Best Buy, you get lenticular packaging. That's the one when you move it, the picture changes. And then, of course, Target has exclusive bonus content, like a 20-minute featurette on some stuff on the making of the film. A bunch of special features on this, as always, for the Pixar films. A lot of them look pretty interesting. It does include the short Sanjay Super Team theatrical short. And,
Oscar nominated.
There you go. I haven't seen it, though, and I haven't seen the film. And then some deleted scenes, which I always love that they have animated deleted scenes because they're all fake. They all just make them for that one specific thing. But how did you enjoy that, though? The Good Dinosaur. I know you talked about it on the show. Would you recommend it for the kids, though?
Yeah. I mean, if it came down to this or Inside Out, I'd go with Inside Out. But it was good. But definitely, I would put it into the lower tier Pixar range, which we've talked about ad nauseum on this show.
The English version of The Secret in Their Eyes is being released. It's the film starring Julia Roberts and Chiwetel Ejiofor. That's coming out. Includes commentary with the director, screenwriter, and producer. I like the original film. I did not catch up with this version of it. From what I understand, it's not that good, but we'll see. One of my favorites, the Italian horror film Tenebra, is being released from Synapse in a steel book. It's a 3,000 edition, limited edition. So it comes with a Blu-ray and then a CD of the soundtrack. It's got an all-new transfer supervised by Synapse Films. Audio commentary featuring film critic and Argento scholar Maitland McDonough. And limited there's content exclusive to the limited edition. So if you want this, you have to buy this version of it. And Synapse Films does these limited edition steel books. They retail for about $45. So you're going to be spending about $50 to get this thing, including shipping. But there is a rare high-definition 1080p English sequence, insert shots, playable within the film via seamless branching. You can only get, again, via this limited edition version. Feature-length in-depth commentary, Yellow Fever, the rise and fall of the Giallo by High Rising Productions, chronicling the Giallo film genre from beginnings to its later influences. The original unsane U.S. version and end credit sequence, which they kind of tweaked the little ending of it a little bit for the U.S. audiences. Alternate opening credits, Japanese trailer, and then, of course, the soundtrack itself is exclusive to the limited edition.
Very cool.
$50.
It's pretty steep.
I didn't pull the trigger. They did this for Demons and Demons 2, and I didn't pull a trigger. I don't know. I just waited for the regular solo releases to come out. Sometimes I regret it, then sometimes I don't. Criterion is giving us The Graduate on Blu-ray, a new 4K digital restoration. You get it with the uncompressed monaural soundtrack. You can also play it with a 5.1 surround mix as well. Audio commentary from Mike Nichols, who's being interviewed by Steven Soderbergh, which sounds very interesting to me. New conversation between the producer and then the actor-screenwriter Buck Henry. New interview with film writer and historian Bobby Osteen about editor Sam Osteen's work on The Graduate. Students of The Graduate, a short documentary film from 2007 on the film's influences. Just a bunch of stuff from Criterion. You know they're going to knock it out of the park. So if you're a fan of The Graduate, which is available on Blu-ray originally, but this is Criterion's version, so you're going to have to pick that up. And from what I understand, the existing Blu-ray transfer is not that good. So you may want to look into this, the next Barnes & Noble Criterion sale. One of my favorites, Matt, The Big Sleep, being released on Blu-ray from Warner Archive. The classic Bogart film is coming out, includes the alternate 1945 pre-release version, which has some extra footage in it that was later cut, as well as a short feature documentary that examines the differences between the two. This is stuff that's available on the DVD, though, which I already have. But from what I understand, this presentation on Blu-ray is supposed to be revelatory. It's supposed to look absolutely gorgeous. So I will be upgrading that for sure. And then they're also releasing a film I'm ashamed to say I haven't seen, Key Largo, another Bogey Bacall film, is being released on Blu-ray. Nothing really on that one, though, except for the trailer. Scream Factory is giving us The Serpent and the Rainbow, starring the President of the United States, Bill Pullman. It's a brand new 2015 HD transfer, new audio commentary by President Pullman himself, a new making of featurette as well. Matt, do you ever see The Serpent and the Rainbow?
No, I remember when I was a kid, I would see the ads and stuff for it, but I was too freaked out to watch it because they always, I remember watching something like, who made that? Was Wes Craven who made that?
Yep.
Something where he was talking about how they were filming the scenes with the dancers and how they were actually going to be possessed, and it kind of freaked me out when I was like 12, so I never watched it.
Yeah, I don't think they were actually possessed, but
if you believe in voodoo, they were.
This is his version of the voodoo zombie movie, the true version of the zombies, not the the versions of Romero's that we know now. But if you're a fan of that, they're getting released. I don't think I'm going to get it, Matt.
No.
Not that. Nah. I was never that big a fan of the film. It's not that good.
Okay.
And then we don't always bring up TV stuff, but sometimes we have to. Fargo Season 2, one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen, is being released on Blu-ray as well. Includes a conversation with the actors Patrick Wilson, Keith Carradine, and Noah Hawley. A bunch of other stuff, including the films of Ronald Reagan, extended Fargo cut, Waffles and Bullet Holes, A Return to Sioux Falls, and a Skip Sprang TV commercial. Matt, let me tell you, I probably will be picking this up. I will absolutely adored this season. I wish it had more features, though.
Yeah.
Special features that go along with it. I'm disappointed. I think this thing screams for audio commentary by the directors and writers, at least on the episode. So I'm disappointed by that. But still, I got to tell you. And one thing, too, I didn't realize until like almost the end of the show is that the characters in this are the characters from the first season.
Yeah, they're just the younger versions of them. Yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Wow. You were really paying attention. You were just really swept up into the story.
I think it's because I was so underwhelmed by the first season that I just didn't remember it. So
yeah, there you go. Fair enough.
Anyway, you're straight to DVD pick of the week. I'm going to go with Bigfoot versus Zombies. Typically, I read what it's about, but I don't think I need to. It's Bigfoot versus Zombies. Your streaming pick of the week just recently hit Netflix. Joel Wright's Atonement. To go along with the romance film Deadpool and our top 5 Atonement. I absolutely love this film about
tough film.
Two lovers two people, they fall in love, young kids, and then they are split apart by World War II. But it has one of the most beautiful tracking shots you will see in modern cinema, involving the evacuation of Dunkirk. It demands to be seen. So if you haven't seen Atonement, you need to check it out. But as Matt said, it's a tough sit. It's very romantic, a big drama, and absolutely heartbreaking. Just prepare yourself for that.
It is. It's a tough one. It's a borderline one-timer.
Well, here's your chance to check it out that one time. Atonement on Netflix right now. And I think it's Joe Wright, not Joel Wright. So sorry about that. All right, Matt. Let's
do some Oscars.
That's right. Yeah, I just screwed up my own order. That's right. Let's then transition over to the Oscar picks. Now, remember, we only focus on the big ones, right? So we're only going to discuss Best Picture, Director, Actor, Actress, and then Supporting.
Okay.
All right. Now, I got to admit, I kept going back and forth in a lot of these, and I am ill-prepared for this. I'm getting married shortly, and I haven't had the time to dedicate to this that I really, really wanted to. So, I don't think I'm going to repeat my victory last year of getting only 2 or 3 wrong. I had a great run last year.
Yeah.
And I will do my complete sheet at a later time. But right now, and before next Sunday's Oscars. But still. All right, Matt. So what do you want? Let's start with Best Supporting Actress. You want to just start there?
Yeah, let me just...
and then just say we want to tell you who's going to win, and then who we think should win if we disagree with the consensus pick. And Matt, you're a little handicapped too because you haven't seen most of these films.
This is all very true.
A lot of fun for you.
Yes, this is all very true. So, Best Supporting Actress, I have seen none of these films. Do you want me to read off the nominees in total?
Yep, yeah, read them off.
Okay, so we got Jennifer Jason Leigh in The Hateful Eight, Rooney Mara in Carol, Rachel McAdams in Spotlight, Alicia Vikander in The Danish Girl, and Kate Winslet in Steve Jobs. The only thing, the one who I've heard the most buzz on, and I have to admit I'm not keeping up with the pulse of these things very well like I used to, but I really think from what I've heard, just people talking about it, and even what you have said, I think it's going to be Jennifer Jason Leigh. I think that should be the one who wins, based on absolutely nothing.
That is based on absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, because I think it's going to be between Rooney Mara and Carol and Kate Winslet and Steve Jobs. I think those are your two top contenders. I originally wrote down Kate Winslet. I got to tell you, that Steve Jobs movie is unfairly maligned. That is a great film, and it's getting released. I think it's out on Blu-ray this week, or no, last week. This past Tuesday it was released. So if you get a chance, you got to check that out. It is fantastic. It takes you through, it was in my top 5, I believe, for the year, but it takes you through just certain big moments in Steve Jobs' life, and Fassbender just knocks it out of the park. You really got to check that out. All right. So I think it's between Rooney Mara and Kate Winslet. Originally I had Kate Winslet, but I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be Rooney Mara and Carol. Okay. So I'm going to go with Rooney Mara. I'm changing my pick on the fly.
Okay. Such as your want to do.
That's right. So actor in a supporting role, Matt. Here are your nominees. Christian Bale in The Big Short. Tom Hardy in The Revenant. Mark Ruffalo, Spotlight. Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies. And then, of course, Sylvester Stallone in Creed. Matt, I think this comes down to 2 people again. Tom Hardy in The Revenant and Sylvester Stallone in Creed. But Hollywood loves its comeback kids. They're going with Stallone and Creed. I can't imagine they choose anybody else.
Right.
What do you think?
So I've actually seen 2 of these. So I saw The Big Short and I saw The Revenant. I agree with you that it would come down to probably Tom Hardy and Sylvester Stallone. And I, again, completely agree with you that I think Hollywood's going to give, Sly a comeback kid, kind of John Travolta, kind of thing, recognition. And by the fact that I think he won, I know he won the Golden Globe, but did he win the Screen Actors Guild Award as well for this role?
I believe so.
Okay. So, yeah, I think with that, I think it's pretty much a lock. I'm going to go with Creed, especially with everything that's going on.
Yeah. All right. So what do you want to do then? You want to do just transition to, let's mix up the order so we don't seem too sexist. Do you want to go actor in a leading role?
Sure. So best actor, we have Bryan Cranston in Trumbo, Matt Damon in The Martian, Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant, Michael Fassbender and Steve Jobs, and Eddie Redmayne in The Danish Girl. So I have seen 2 of these. I've seen The Martian, The Revenant. So let me just kind of process of elimination here. I say Eddie Redmayne. I don't think he's going to win since he won last year, even though I've never seen The Danish Girl.
Robbed. Michael Keaton was robbed. It still bothers me about that.
And then Dark Horsey, maybe Trumbo, because, Hollywood really loves, and especially the Academy loves their biopic, actors.
Especially the self-referential stuff when it's involving other Hollywood stuff. Yeah,
I mean, so that could be a dark horse pick. I don't think Matt Damon has a chance. So I think it's either going to come down to Cranston or DiCaprio. They're just going to, kind of throw out there, let's just give DiCaprio his Oscar, or let's just kind of stick with what we're doing and, give us, pat ourselves on the back for a biopic about Hollywood. I'm going to go with, I'm going to be a cynic. I'm going to go with Bryan Cranston.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're entirely wrong on that. I think this is Leo's year. I think, because, hey, Hollywood also loves suffering, and Leo suffers in this film. And that's one of the knocks against it, I think, is that, it's not so much a performance as it is just an hour or 2 hours and a half, 2.5 hours of him just getting his ass kicked and being assaulted by a bear. So but I still think this is Leo's year. I think they're going to give in to him finally and give it to him. I can't see that.
I mean, it's not a, you're completely valid. I'm just kind of being contrary. You're probably right. He probably will win.
So, all right. So, and I had to think too, do I think he should win that? I did love Fassbender and Steve Jobs, like I said. But the problem is I haven't seen Trumbo yet. And I haven't seen The Danish Girl. I'm like anti-Eddie Redmayne at this point because of the whole Birdman thing.
It's not his fault. What's he supposed to do? Give it away? This does not belong to me?
Young. Michael Keaton will probably end up making White Noise 4. I know. So, we'll see. I don't know. No, he was great, and I'm surprised he didn't get a nomination. I thought he was really good in Spotlight, though, but I guess just not big enough for a role. Or only so many slots.
Gotcha.
You know, the thing too that drives me crazy. I think Steve Carell's performance in The Big Short was better than Christian Bale's.
Yeah, I agree.
So I want to point that's a snub I think we should talk about for a second there. But yeah, all right. So I think Leo's going to win. Should he win? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I could give credence to. The problem is I haven't seen 2 of those films, but Damon in Martian is good. Fassbender, as I said, Steve Jobs is fantastic, but still, it's Leo.
Yeah.
All right. So actress in a leading role: Kate Blanchett and Carol, Brie Larson in The Room, Jennifer Lawrence in Joy, Charlotte Rampling, 45 Years. And then Cerise Ronan in Brooklyn. Now this one I think is pretty open. Yeah. I unfortunately, embarrassingly, again, I don't know why I do this show because I have no credence. I haven't seen 4 out of these 5 films.
All right.
I meant to see Joy and I didn't get a chance to see it. I wanted to see Brooklyn. The timing hasn't worked. You know, when you're in a relationship and stuff and you have responsibilities, things change.
Hey, it only gets worse.
In
1 week, in a couple weeks, it's gonna be worse. In some ways, yes. In many ways, but in your movie watching, doing the show, no, it gets much worse.
I'm convinced that if I end up having a kid at some point, if the show even continues, which I don't know if it will, but if that happens, I think it's going to shift to a streaming show entirely at that point, with occasionally dustings of big films coming in, which would be fine. Because really, you listen for me. You don't really care about the movies. You want to hear my dulcet tones.
This is very true.
You want to see my new cool coiffed haircut. Everybody, that's what they're looking for. I get that. So we'll be around in some form or another. Maybe we'll do a show every month. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself right now. So let's focus on the subject at hand.
Yeah, you haven't even married and knocked up the girl yet. Jeez, come on, slow down.
Really, hearing you put it that way really brings out the romance in the whole thing. So thank you. So, all right, my sentimental favorite is Brie Larson in Room. Not just because it's the only film I've seen in this whole thing, but I love Brie Larson, and I really feel that she is on the cusp of becoming a leading star, like huge films.
Yeah,
I thought she was. Short Term 12 was one of my favorite films. Was that 2014, 2013? Mm-hmm. I love that film. And she's brilliant in it. She also played Abed's geeky girlfriend in Community for some people, for the Community fans out there. But still, it's such an incredible performance in that film. I think from what I understand, though, the odds-on favorites are Kate Blanchett and Carol and Cerise Ronan in Brooklyn. So I want to choose Brie Larson, but I think it's going to be Cerise Ronan from Brooklyn. I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
So it kills me. But don't be surprised if Brie pulls it out.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm even in a worse position because I haven't seen any of these. Now, I've heard a lot of buzz about Brie Larson. Maybe that's just from you, and I'm just forgetting that it's only coming from you. But so I don't think it's maybe as dark horse as you think. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to. I think I was leaning towards Kate Blanchett just from what I've been hearing for Carol.
But she's won a bunch of times already. You know what? Hell with it. I'm going with it. I'm changing my pick on the fly to Brie Larson. I believe in Brie Larson. It's going to happen.
There you go. Well, here's the thing. You might as well. Okay, so I know you're loath to tank your stats here, but you haven't seen the other 4 films. You really love this one. I appreciate and I respect that you're taking a stand here for something that you believe in, even if it was wrong.
I'm going with my heart on this one, which is not something you're supposed to do with Oscar picks, and that's how I lose. But I just feel I need to support Brie, and I'm putting those vibes out there into the universe, and whatever's out there is going to help Brie Larson win. So
yeah,
you got 1 vote there. So here we go. All right, Matt. So let's do director then. Who are the nominees?
All right, Adam McKay for The Big Short, George Miller for Mad Max Fury Road, Alejandro Inarritu for The Revenant, Lenny Abramson for Room, and Tom McCarthy for Spotlight. Now this one's tough. As much as I would like for George Miller to win for Mad Max Fury Road, which I think it's not happening. I think it's going to be Alejandro Inarritu. Inarritu,
I believe is how it's
Okay, Inarritu. But I don't think that's not undeserved. I mean, the film is absolutely beautiful, and just the kind of links that they went to for authenticity and the natural light and all that, and the kind of hell he put through his actors through. I think it's a deserving win from a visual standpoint, from a direction standpoint. It's a fantastic film.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 in a row for Inarritu. He won last year for Birdman. He's going to win this year as well for Revenant. I'm very confident about this. I'm not as confident as any Morricone winning for Best Score for Hateful Eight, but I'm almost that confident for this. I think, given the other contenders, I think his closest contender is going to be George Miller, but he's not going to win.
Right.
They're not going to do it.
Right.
And then part of me thinks they're going to wuss out and do it and give it the spotlight.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not that. It's a solid film, but I just don't think it's not there. It doesn't go there for me quite. So I think they could wuss out though and choose spotlight, but I still think it's going to be Inarritu for The Revenant. I really do. I don't think they have the guts to give it to Adam McKay. Yeah. They're not going to give a Best Directorial Oscar to the guy who did Semi-Pro. They're not going to do it.
But Anchorman, come on. Anchorman will live longer than 90% of the Best Picture Oscar picks.
That quite possibly could be true. All right, but we agree on that. So then Best Picture, here we go. Here are your nominees. The Big Short, Bridge of Spies. Interesting, no nomination for Spielberg, huh? Brooklyn, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, Revenant, Room, and Spotlight. Matt, it's going to be The Revenant. I think it really is. I think that Mad Max, again, has a shot. I think it has more of a shot than Miller does as director. Because that's happened before, that the Best Picture somehow doesn't direct itself. It directs itself. You know, that the director either is nominated or doesn't win.
Right.
But it's going to be The Revenant. I can't see. It'll be 2 in a row, 4 in a row, I guess, for Inarritu at that point.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be The Revenant. I really do. I think out of all of these, I think it's the strongest of them. Even though I chose Mad Max Fury Road as my favorite film of 2015, out of that list, knowing Hollywood, it's going to be Revenant.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I'm a little more on the fence of Mad Max Fury Road being more deserving, in my opinion, than The Revenant. You know, because it's, you know, Mad Max is, you know, very lean and it's, you know, propulsive, whereas The Revenant, I think, gets a little self-indulgent at times. But I think it's a lock to win at this point. Yeah,
I think you're entirely right. So we'll see. Are you going to go see Mad Max Fury Road if they release that black and white version to the theaters like they're discussing?
Yeah, why not? I love the film, and I'm all about giving George Miller some more money. I think he deserves it. And maybe he'll make another one if we keep giving him money.
Right, he backed away from his "I'm not going to make another one."
Yeah.
So I was happy to see that.
Although it'll be interesting to see. I'll be curious to see how the internet reacts by the fact, because they really loved Charlize Theron and Furiosa, but you know, he's basically come right out and said, just if I make another Mad Max, it's not going to have Furiosa in it. And I'm really interested to see how they react to that.
I think that'll be fine.
Yeah,
I think if everybody was happy there was a strong female lead, and he can do it again. He can pick somebody else.
Yeah,
maybe Brie Larson. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Brie Larson with one leg.
That's right. Different. Maybe Channing Tatum. You never know. Boy, CT in the okay. Let's move on. All right. So we got wow. All right. Matt, let's hear a clip from Willow.
From the creator of Star Wars. From the director of Cocoon. A world is awakening.
Why, with the strength of my great army, can you not find one little child?
It's a dangerous world. That's why we need your help.
Your journey has just begun.
Willow. Heroes come in all sizes. But adventure doesn't come any bigger than this.
Find the child. Find the child.
We are not afraid of you. After them!
You're gonna get us killed.
Adjust them completely. next great adventure.
You are great.
Willow.
Matt, I have never seen Willow in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces of it, perhaps throughout the years. Ron Howard film, based on an idea by George Lucas. Star Wars George Lucas, so you know it's going to be awesome. So
Right.
Matt, why do I want to rename this film Will Know?
Because you're dead inside? I don't know. Why?
I no. This thing did not work for me at all. It did not. Nah, it seemed like it was more a cliched kind of, let's take a little bit of Lord of the Rings. Let's take a little bit of this. Let's take a little bit of that. Let's kind of mash them together here, and then we'll make this movie that's got really bad dialogue, some really subpar performances, some bad special effects. I feel like this thing was, and I get that this is the beginning of Industrial Light and Magic, right? This is like their first film. But it felt, the production values felt like a Canon film to me as I'm watching this thing.
Really?
Val Kilmer totally misplays this. I didn't buy the relationship between him and Joanne Whalley at all. They had no chemistry, which I
they ended
appreciate.
they ended up getting married. By the way.
And then divorced a short time later. So clearly, I was right about that. But it's. I mean, I haven't seen that kind of chemistry since like Michelle and Marcus Bachman. I felt like there was, though that's for very different reasons. But no, I just didn't. It just didn't work for me at all. It really, and this is this is horrible. But when Warwick Davis comes back, he's finally home, and his wife runs into his arms. I'd be like, I'm good. I just didn't. I don't know what it was. And here, I need you to correct something for me here. Let me know if I'm right or wrong. When I was doing my research after the film, is it true that Warwick Davis and his group, his people are average sized, and everybody else are giants? Is that actually what the original intent was? Because I read that was the plan. That's what was supposed to happen.
Honestly, I don't know. I had never heard that before. Interesting that that's the way they chose to do it. No, I didn't know that. I remember them calling them as a race of giants. I just thought they were just saying relative to, an Netherland. So that's interesting. I'm not.
Maybe perspective-wise, they'd be giants to them, and they would all consider themselves normal height because that's who they all were.
Right.
But I mean, it's and then what it was too. And this is horrible of me. I don't have any issues against little people. I don't. But it's weird. It's like every time I saw one, I'd be like, oh yeah, I know that guy was always there. I think it's because it's a small stable.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have a lot of working little people, which I think is the politically correct term. I don't want to be offensive with this at all. But you have a lot of little people there's not a lot of actors like that, right? So all of them are the ones you're going to see in other films.
Right.
It's a small stable to pull from. So I think that's why
got Billy Barty again.
You have to have Billy Barty. So yes, we had the Masters of the Universe, which I don't know why they didn't use Orko to this day, but still, yeah. So I was troubled by that, pointing. Oh yeah, that's the guy from that. Oh, I remember him in that. So I don't know. I think that's more a shortcoming of the film itself. That the story wasn't strong enough to really suck me in. Okay. Maybe if I saw this when I was a kid, I'd enjoy it more. But you did. So talk to me.
Yeah. I think I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I think this is one of Ron Howard's early films, and it's it's clunky in a lot of ways. It's got the kind of typical Lucas touch, stilted dialogue, which is just George just ruins everything he touches when it comes to dialogue. But at the end of the day, you know what? It harkens back to me just to kind of like a different sense of fantasy, right? Of what fantasy was, kind of more. This is obviously pre-Lord of the Rings. It's more meant for kids in my opinion. It's not like like today where it's Game of Thrones and that's all. Let's make it let's take it the Dark Ages and make it even more dark and gritty. It's kind of like that kind of high fantasy sword and sorcery, Dungeons and Dragons type of stuff. And it was just it was fun, and I mean, it had decent action scenes. Yes, the effects haven't aged well in a lot of cases, but all in all, I still remember, the parts that I liked as a kid. It didn't smack to me like Labyrinth, where I thought, man, this is really cheesy. It's like, I would, I was like, you know what? These are still. It kind of had the warm glow of nostalgia. I've obviously got rose-tinted glasses because I did like it when I was a kid. But it was holding my daughter's attention, so she seemed to be liking it as well. So, which is more than I can say for Star Wars or some of the other movies that we watched inexplicably. But I still enjoyed it. And I'd be curious for them to kind of go back to that to see if they, if Disney owns that property, then maybe just take a shot and throw something else out there in this universe.
You could do that. Warwick Davis could be now the Billy Barty role.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, he could be.
You could do that. You know what? That would be interesting.
Yeah, and I think Ron Howard's even said that he would like another crack at it, not necessarily, because he knows so much more as a director now. He's so much more experienced, and he wouldn't make a lot of the same mistakes he did before. So he wants to kind of try it again.
So would you want a remake or would you want a sequel?
I would guess, a sequel, I think, would be more interesting. What's interesting is, I don't know if you knew this, and I've never read any of them, but Chris Claremont, who wrote the Days of Future Past, he's a real famous X-Men writer.
Sure,
he actually wrote a sequel trilogy to this movie. Where Laura Dan and the princess is all grown up. And I've never read them, and they're supposedly not that great, but I guess there is more lore out there.
Yeah, Claremont was actually the height of my comic X-Men reading, so I'm familiar with the man's work. So yeah, no, okay. I mean, I guess it depends on what you pull in and if it's interesting. It's got to be better than this film. I mean, this thing is just.
So wait a minute. Of the 3 fantasy movies that we've watched so far, in Masters of the Universe, Labyrinth, and this, what's the breakdown for you?
First off, I think we can throw in Better Off Dead, because Better Off Dead takes place in an alternate universe. And there are fantasy elements.
We have established this, yes.
Man, they're all pretty bad. I gotta go Labyrinth though, because of my man. I have to.
Your man Bowie?
Yes, I have to. It's David. I don't have a choice. And I know some of the effects in that are pretty bad as well. But those musical numbers are great. But I got to tell you, that scene with the monsters that can take themselves apart, their bodies apart, that was really bad. Like I almost shut off the movie bad. I don't know what it was that offended me so much. I don't know what it was, but it was so annoying and so I hated every second of it. I wanted to fast forward through it, but for the integrity of the show, whatever that means, I didn't do that. So yeah.
All right, well, there you go. All right, so we've got a good split here. I mean, I think this is this the first time we've split? I think you enjoyed Labyrinth more than I did. I had a lot less tolerance for it than you did, and I think that's because you had the Bowie colored glasses that you were wearing, especially in the wake of his death. But yeah, I think I enjoyed this. I know I enjoyed this a hell of a lot more than you did.
Yeah. Well, I had my issues with Labyrinth going back in time, but yeah, I agree. Okay, that's fine. Willow, if you had a chance to see it, don't shoot us an email at feedback at the first round.
Not that bad. It's not that bad.
It's all right. It's just not. I just didn't buy into these characters at any moment. Like, any one of them would have been slaughtered within the first 10 minutes of this film actually took place.
I know, I did like that. How the midwife runs away with she's got like a 30-second head start and they didn't catch her. That was funny.
We got the Baby Noah reference. It's whatever. Yeah. All right, fine.
Well, what's interesting is that we're about halfway through the list now, and we've been pretty underwhelmed with the notable exception from Better Off Dead.
Well, Monster Squad I thought was okay, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Monster Squad was okay. I mean, it had its issues, but I mean, it has the issues of any 80s film. So
I don't even know where my list is. I don't even know what's up next. Do you know what's up next?
Yeah, hold on. I've actually got it up because I was looking at it. So we've got War Games, Footloose, Spies Like Us, Flight of the Navigator, and Weird Science. Those are what we've got left to choose from.
All right. I think War Games is that still on Netflix? I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. All right, we'll figure that out. Okay, so let's talk about our favorite movie romances. But first, let's play a clip for one from me that just didn't make the cut.
Oh, just how fast do you fly, by the way?
Oh, I don't know, really. No, never actually, bothered to time myself.
No?
Say, why don't we find out?
And how do you propose we do that?
Take a ride with me?
You mean I could fly?
Yeah, actually, I'd be handling the flying if that's okay.
This is utterly fantastic.
Oh, wait a minute. Where are you going?
Are you serious?
What's the matter? Don't you want to go? Okay. You don't need these.
I need a sweater. It must be kind of cold.
No, you'll be warm enough. Ready?
Clark said that you're just a figment of somebody's imagination. Like Peter Pan.
Lark, who's that, your boyfriend?
Clark? Oh, Clark. No, he's nothing. He's just a...
Peter Pan, huh?
Uh-huh.
Peter Pan flew with children, Lois. In a fairy tale.
So, Matt, this is not my favorite romance movies, right? These are my favorite on-screen couples.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I determined my list. Did you have any other criterion for that?
Well, I'm not as much of a romantic as you are, so I was like, man, I was really trying to rack my brain here, so I kind of went with a straight genre, like sci-fi fantasy list here. Yeah, so that's what I stuck with.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So I'll start off, so we'll give you the ultimate number one. My number 5 is Once. Glenn Hansard and Marketa Irglova, who play the roles of guy and girl. They are not actually named throughout the film. And it's a story about Hansard plays a struggling musician. He works at a vacuum repair shop, and at night he drives or walks, or I don't know what he does, transports. They don't really cover that. But he somehow materializes in the streets of Dublin and just plays guitar and music for people, and they throw him money. And he meets Marketa Irglova, who's this Czech, not a refugee perhaps, but an immigrant. And she likes his songs. The two of them kind of meet up, and then they start writing songs together, and they're absolutely brilliant songs. And they kind of start to fall in love, and then things happen. I don't want to ruin it for you. It's a very small, simple film. It's an indie film from Ireland, but it sparked in me my affection for Glenn Hansard and the Frames. It started a whole new musical thing for me. So I can't recommend it enough. Once is absolutely fantastic. It has a perfect ending. It's sweet and heartbreaking, and it's everything you're looking for. So if you haven't seen Once, you have to check it out. That's my number 5.
All right. Very good. All right, so my number 5 is Zoe and Wash from the Serenity film. Now, it's a bit of a cheat because it's based off a TV show, but it's there are a couple that are the typical unlikely couple, but Alan Tudyk and Gina Torres, they have really good chemistry on it, and I kind of appreciated the fact that they were an established married couple who were in love. They're, even if they kind of fought it sometimes or disagreed, we knew they weren't going to break up. They were kind of like that steady rock of the entire world. So it's a cute little romance. It's has a lot of weight to it, but at the end of Serenity, man, it gets you in the feels, but for a completely different reason.
Right, yeah, and that's why you can use it, because they did make a film, right? They did have that Serenity film, and you know why? It's because he dies. Spoiler, suck on it. It's been 10 goddamn years, all right?
He's a leaf on the wind. He's a leaf on the wind, man.
10 years. Spoiler tags expire after 10 years.
Is that it? A decade? All right.
No, if I'm feeling malicious.
Okay.
I just felt
which is your usual.
Mm-hmm.
He
dies. He's dead. All right. Come on.
What else you got for me there, Chief?
my number 4 is a film I just talked about a little bit, The Big Sleep. Humphrey Bogart, Lauren Bacall, Philip Marlowe, and Vivian Rutledge. And one of my favorite things about The Big Sleep is that it doesn't make any sense. All right. Well, they were making the film. They went to the author, Dashiell Hammett, and they said, listen, we don't know how this ends. When you read the book, it's never really clear who the bad guy is and what happens to them at the end of the book. And he gets all upset. He's like, what are you talking about? And then he reads the book and he goes, holy crap, you're right. So they actually kind of changed. Anyway, this is the film that brought together Bogey and Bacall. And now I think Bogey's like 15, 20 years her senior, I think, in this film. I mean, you think stuff's bad now. You go back to the 40s and 50s. Well, you know, and then Bogart and Audrey Hepburn, right? And Sabrina, same thing. So still, The Big Sleep, the chemistry between the two of them is palpable. You know, to use the cliche, you could cut it with a knife. You could cut it with a plastic spork. It's so palpable between the two of them. It's a great film noir, one of the all-time best. So if you're into that, you have to check it out. If you're into film noir, you've seen The Big Sleep. But just tough guys, talking tough, some of the greatest dialogue you'll ever hear in a film. But still, the romance between the two of them, it's electric. It really is. You have to see it if you haven't. So that's why it's my number 4, The Big Sleep.
All right. Very good. All right, my number 4 is Princess Buttercup and Wesley from The Princess Bride. Kind of your classic fairy tale love story. I'll be completely honest with you. When I was a child, when I first saw this, being the unemotional person that I am, I was like, what the hell is this? How did I get suckered into watching this? But it's grown on me since then. And if you say, I guarantee you, if there's a certain type of girl out there, if you say "as you wish," damn, panties are dropping.
Oh, that's sweet. I like how you put that. It really brings out the sweetness of the whole thing.
I mean, Chris, this is a tough list for me. You know I'm a sociopath, so
that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a good pick too. I like that one as well. Yeah, if you haven't seen that too. Oh, by the way, he dies in that one too.
Yeah. Hey, man.
He does.
Death just highlights love, man.
But it's not as bad as the Serenity one where he dies. Okay. My number 3. A lot of people consider this the greatest Christmas movie of all time, and it's true. It's a classic Christmas film. But I'm telling you, for me, what brings me back to It's a Wonderful Life over and over again is the relationship between George Bailey and Mary Hatch. Stewart and Donna Reed are just, for me, the personification of what it means to be in a loving, happy marriage. What gets me every time, it's not just, I probably cry 2 to 3 times when I watch It's a Wonderful Life, and I watch it every year, and it still gets me every year. The scene at the end when everybody shows up, spoiler, everybody shows up to give him all the money. Oh, and by the way, he dies in that too.
I think you're going to see. I'm looking at the rest of my list, and we're going to have a theme.
He didn't so much die as he never exists. All right, that's been 70 years, so suck it up for that one, or however long it's been. Anyway, but the relationship between George Bailey and Mary Hatch at the very beginning, Matt, there's a scene when they're kids, and Bailey's working at an ice cream shop, and he has an ear problem, right? If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the film, first off, what the hell is wrong with you? Pause the show, spend 2.5 hours, because film was long, but spend the time, watch the movie. I don't care that it's February, watch it. But anyway, there's a scene where he's deaf in one ear, and little Donna Reed, this kid, leans into his ear and says, "Is this your good ear or your bad ear?" And she goes, "George Bailey, I'll love you to the day I die." And I get choked up, Matt, every damn time. So, I mean, it's the romance between the two of them that brings me back to it over and over again. It's one of my all-time favorite cinematic romances. It like you said, it gets me in the feels every time. I've seen this thing, a dozen times, if not more, and every time it gets dusty in my home. So that's why it's my number 3.
Very good. All right, so I bet you thought, I'm actually pretty proud of myself for not putting this number 1 when you heard the theme of my list here, but my number 3 is Han Solo and Princess Leia. That is the quintessential geek romance, and it all boils down to, I mean, really, the second film, man. I mean, she says "I love him," and like a pimp, to paraphrase Kevin Smith, he says, "I know," and I'm telling you, that is good romance. Do we have a spoiler for this one, Chris? Are we sticking with our theme?
Oh yeah, no, we'll let that one go.
Okay,
I'm gonna let that. It has been 10 years.
Okay,
Matt, you can't figure out now what it is.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you who dies. Oh,
okay,
did you say it? Did you just say it?
No, I didn't say it.
All right, yeah, one of them dies.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you who.
There is death.
Maybe it's their kid. Who's their kid? I don't know. Could be anybody.
It could be anybody. It could be multiple people.
From what I understand, too, Harrison Ford ad-libbed that line. How brilliant is that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, come on. It is the absolute, as far as, it's the go-to for a lot of people. Even for on the list of, just kind of general movie romances, this is up there. Okay, there's a little incest in the first, 20 minutes of that movie. But you move past that, so we're good. Han and Princess Leia.
Yeah, no, incest is fine. So I thought you were going to go with Jabba, Princess Leia.
Well, that's my honorable mention.
Okay. My number 2, as I'm going through my list, I feel like should be my number 4. Okay. But I'm going to stick with it because I made my list. And why it's my number 2? Because it's the coolest romance in probably the last 20 years in a movie. I mean, nothing. I'm telling you, man, when I watched this, Matt, I'm like, God damn it, I want to be Jack Foley. I so desperately would love to be Jack Foley. And if you know who Jack Foley is, he's George Clooney in Soderbergh's Out of Sight, adaptation of the Elmore Leonard book. Karen Sisco, played by Jennifer Lopez. There is this scene, Matt, where they're stuck together in a trunk. It's about 5 to 8 minutes long. But you could feel the sexual tension between the two of them while they're stuck in this trunk together. The way Soderbergh lights it, right, with the car's lights, the brake lights and stuff. I'm sorry. It is, for me, one of the coolest. It's if you're going to talk to a girl and you're a little shy and a little geeky like me, watch Jack Foley in Out of Sight, and that'll give you everything you need to go talk to that lovely little lady at the end of the bar. I'm telling you, man. Nobody was cooler than Clooney was in that film. Nobody. That's
not even Bond?
No, because no. I'm sticking with Jack Foley on this because Bond is his whole thing is also there's a hint of danger in everything he does. And Foley's got that a little bit, but I think he's still smoother. He's basically like if Sinatra actually was a criminal and was a thief. He's got that kind of coolness to him I don't know. Yeah, so it's my number 2, Out of Sight.
Well, George Clooney is a smooth MFer. I gotta give you that. All right, that's why people call him the Crispy Scalzo of Italy.
That's right. That's exactly why. So what's your number 2?
My number 2 is not Between People, but I tell you, because I'm a robot, it gets to me. Is Even Wally from Wally.
Oh, why didn't I think of that?
So
that's a great
one. It's a relationship that develops between two inanimate objects, or not inanimate, but not living. But it's still very pure. It's very sweet. When she's out in the rain, Wally's sitting there guarding her and holding an umbrella over her head, and granted, he does die, but he gets better because he's a robot.
That's right. He does die.
He does die, but he gets better, and they just rebuild him. But yeah, it's just a really cute, something you can watch with your kids. And I guarantee you, if it doesn't choke you up a little bit, you're going to be made of stone. So Even Wally.
Mm-hmm. I can't believe I forgot about Wally. I'm very disappointed in myself. It's really graphic, though, that one scene between the two of them. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it is some hardcore Pixar robot-on-robot action.
It is. You might want to shield their eyes, but kids got to learn about these things. They're all robophiles out there, so
and they do a nice job. It's very sweet. 50 Shades of Eve. Eva. So my number 1, Matt. What's my number 1? You have to know what it is. What's my number 1? Come on.
Bogey and Bacall in Casablanca.
First off, it's not Bacall.
Oh, sorry.
What the fuck? No, no. But yes, it's Casablanca. It totally is. It's you got Humphrey Bogart in his at Clooney levels of cool. It's probably blasphemy to say. Ingrid Bergman, one of the most beautiful women that ever lived, right? But she definitely knew her angle. You ever notice that? Like in all her films, where she had how she was shot, was always a particular angle for Bergman. Anyway. Casablanca, still in my opinion, the greatest film ever made. You have people stuck at a way station, basically, right? They're stuck in Casablanca because World War II is raging around, and this is one of the few ports still available where you can get a flight out of that area into the States. So Ilsa shows up. Ingrid Bergman shows up with Laszlo, her husband, Paul Henreid, and he's the leader of the resistance, and they're desperate to get out of Casablanca. What happens is, though, Ingrid and Bogey have a very touching romance that broke off years ago in Paris. And Bogey still, to this day, is still hurt by it. Claude Rains, absolutely brilliant in the film. Probably one of the best things about it, right? But if you haven't seen Casablanca, it is the greatest film ever made. And the relationship between Rick and Ilsa, one of the sweetest love stories you will ever see. Sweetest and tragic. And they both die. But much later, like in real life, like natural causes, not in the movie.
Right.
So, yeah. Anyway, Casablanca, the best film ever made. If you haven't seen it, go watch it today.
There you go. Here you go. Well, I'm sorry that I upset Chris, and I'm going to upset him now because I think I actually have something that maybe be able to beat that for an on-screen love story. I don't know. So this is a film. This entire love story takes place in the first 15 minutes of the film.
Oh,
and in that it goes from the beginning.
Another one I forgot.
And is maybe one of the best encapsulations of love and married life that I've ever seen. Is Ellie and Carl Fredricksen from Up. And guess what? One of them dies. So
yeah, you are one morose person. Let me tell you. Holy cow!
I didn't really notice that until you brought it up on the first the first pick. But yeah, I was like, holy shit! Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, you know, we have waxed poetic on this first 15 minutes, and you know, the rest of the film, you know, it's not necessarily the strongest Pixar, but really the first, you know, 10-15 minutes of this that details the relationship and just how it kind of goes over and almost is almost silent. I think there is very little dialogue in that whole thing. It's just absolutely perfect. A great encapsulation of an on-screen couple.
That's exactly right. Holy crap! I can't forget. I would put that above Wall-E as well. You're entirely right, man. I can't believe I forgot about Up. That is the most heartbreaking 10 minutes you will ever see on film. It is. Yeah, that one is impossible. It's incredible, and I'm very disappointed that I forgot that one as well. Jesus Christ, come on! All right, do you have any honorable mentions?
I have one honorable mention. This is never explicit in the film, but the subtext lets you know. But it's obviously Sam and Frodo. Those guys were a couple, and they got to spend together. They got to be forever in the Undying Lands, so they didn't die. They actually sailed across the sea to the elves, and they lived together happily ever after and wedded bliss.
But I thought Sam had a thing for that girl.
He did. He gets married, but when they didn't, I'm surprised that Jackson didn't tack this on at the end. But at the end of that, you know, she dies, and as all of his children are grown, since he bore the ring for a little bit of time while, you know, he got to go to the land of the elves to live with Bilbo and Frodo after much later in life.
All right, any others?
They all reunited. No, that was it.
Oh, okay. I had a few other ones. I had Moonrise Kingdom. The relationship between the two kids there, I think, is absolutely perfect.
That's a good one.
Annie Hall, true romance, just for the hell of it. The Apartment. You ever seen The Apartment, Matt?
No, I have not.
A classic film. Very funny, but at times very dark. Atonement, which we brought up earlier. Breakfast at Tiffany's, marred only by Andy Rooney's Asian impression, one of the black marks in Hollywood history. And then, of course, Joaquin Phoenix and his relationship with his OS in Her.
Very good. That's a good one too. Very good.
Oh,
see,
right.
you're just the romantic of the group. What can I say, Chris?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's built for you.
Whew, Matt, we made it. Man,
We did.
let me tell you, that was a lot.
90 minutes. This is a long show. It was a good show.
For sure. Definitely. I think it was one of our better top fives in a while, too. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
Are we done patting ourselves in the back?
I think so. I mean, we have to do that because nobody else is going to, right?
Right. So next week, Matt, I'm going to see Witch. I don't know if you're going to get a chance to see it, but
I'm gonna come hell or high water. I'm going to go see that movie somehow.
Awesome. And then we'll have to figure out what we're going to do. If we're going to do War Games or Footloose, Spies Like Us, whatever. For some reason, I'm feeling Footloose. I don't know why, but I'm feeling that right now.
Right.
In the meantime, we may too. I don't know what's going to happen if we're going to record next week. I'm going to be actually up in Connecticut next weekend. And I have a lot of wedding stuff going on.
Yep.
So we may go another couple weeks again. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. So everybody just hang on tight. We will be back. And I'm still working on some surprises for our 300th episode, which is 2 shows away.
Oh, wow. I cannot believe it.
This is 298, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, as always, even though they haven't been updated in a while, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We're also on Instagram. Just do a search for The First Run. I'm dedicated. I want to get that stuff going again. It's just that, man, there's just so much going on right now. And check out the site, of course. You can find us on iTunes. Just do a search for The First Run. You can watch a live stream of the show on YouTube. And that's it. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We're going to take an extended break, and we will see you all in a week.
You gonna do a superhero landing? Wait for it. Woo! Superhero landing. Yeah, that's really hard on your knees. Totally impractical. They all do it. You're a lovely lady, but I'm saving myself for Francis. That's why I brought him.
I'd prefer not to hit a woman, so please play.
I mean, that's why I brought her? Oh no, finish your tweet. That's fine. Just give us a second. There you go, hashtag it. Go get her, Tiger.